Alright, so this is going to be a longer term review of the giant SLR1 clincher wheel set, which is tubeless ready. I've been using these for about a year now, largely in dry weather. I use these, and the braking track has held up really well. It's in a sort of UD finish, and the fibres aren't radially finished. They're sort of at this sort of angle, and I don't know if they've done that on purpose to increase the life of the brake track, but the brake track seems to be really good. There's no scoring on it, but like I said, it's been used mainly in the dry. They keep 25mm tyres on them. 25s come out about 26mm. They're not the widest of rims, they're 17mm internally, and a lot of them the trend now is to go wider. I mean, they are wider than Mavic or Shimano, but not quite envy width, you know, not 19mm or 20 internally. These are 17mm internal, and they make this Conti 25 come out at 26 on calipers. I have to be careful actually, because I couldn't get much more of a tyre through this SRAM red caliper. You actually do have to be careful at pushing your tyre widths too fat through calipers and frames, because it's a safety issue for me. Like, if you get a spoke go and then there's a sudden, like, you say you're descending and you get a spoke go on you and it causes a kick in the wheel, if you haven't got enough tyre clearance, it's just going to lock when it goes through the caliper or the frame, and if it's on the front wheel, it's going to throw you off and it could kill you. So don't push your tyre widths too much if your bike can't handle it. It's just why I would normally ride a 28 actually, but with this I'm going to stick with 25s because of those calipers. But on the whole, these rims have been really good. The two things that stand out the most for me are stiffness and comfort. The spoke, well, the flange width on these front hubs is really wide. So what does that give you? That gives you a good lateral stiffness, and it gives you more comfort as well in the vertical plane, because a larger component of the spoke tension is in, let's just set that up a minute, a bigger component of the spoke tension is in the sort of X direction, and a smaller component of the spoke tension is in the vertical plane. So what does that do? It reduces the strength of the lacing, basically the vertical lacing, and increases the strength from side to side. So you get a stiffer wheel tangentially, stiffer wheel laterally, sorry, but a more comfortable wheel vertically. You get a bit more suspension from the spokes, and the same can be felt on the back wheel as well. The rear wheel is really comfy. Unfortunately, the spokes have internal nipples, which is a real pain actually. That's the biggest hate I've got with these wheels, is that they've got internal nipples. So if you want to true the wheels, you've got to get the tyres off and the rim tape, and it's even more of a pain if you run them tubeless, because these are tubeless ready. I don't run them tubeless because of that issue. I don't want to have to keep doing tubeless sealant every time I need to true the wheels. I've had to true the wheels once since I've had them, and I've ridden them for about a year. Largely on smooth roads, I have to say, but bearing wise I can't really comment. They're still running really smooth. I take quite good care of the wheels, so there's no play or notchiness to the bearings. If I just pull the end cap off after every really wet ride or a good wash, I grease the bearings anyway. So if you can see in there, I use a very runny grease, a very runny lithium grease every time I wash the bike or have a really wet ride, just to keep those bearings running good. Because although they've got rubber seals, those bearings, they're not perfect, they're not like fully hermetic. So I use a really low viscosity lithium grease every time I wash the bike or go for a really wet ride, just to make sure they're still sort of weatherproofed. Yeah, so apart from that, I've got nothing much more to say about these rims. They're light as well. They're 1440 grams on my scales. I got this on my sort of, really, this is a light bike. Although it's aluminium, it's a light bike. This weighs 6.9 kilos, this bike. And these wheels really suit it. I use this bike for climbing and they're fucking stiff, these wheels. Great climbing wheels. And actually quite good value as well for a top-end carbon clincher set that's made in Taiwan and is backed up by a proper warranty. They're not bad value. I think the retail's about 800 or 900 quid for the set. There is a slightly lighter version with a lighter hub set, I think, which has got like a DT style ratchet on the rear hub, and people get sold on this DT internals thing, but you know, what's an internal? There's some bearings and a ratchet. So the bearings are the same, it's just a ratchet, and I don't think they're not worth the money. This is another feature I like, you don't see on many rims nowadays. Drainage hole. That's just basic, but a lot of rims don't feature a drainage hole anymore. After a really wet ride you can find them filling up with water, and you can actually hear water sloshing about in some rims, which is annoying. The only thing I did notice when I got these and they were brand new is that they had a problem with the rear ratchet, and that if you engaged quite a high torque instantly after shifting or after coasting, you'd sometimes get a really loud like ping, like almost a noise like it was like the chain slipping on the cassette. But what it was, I think, is one of the pulls in the ratchet not quite engaging properly and then suddenly pinging in and seating itself. And I think when they were new they had a bit too much grease in them, because that's stopped now. That's completely calmed down. I don't get that pinging noise at all. So I suppose it was just a bit too much grease on the pulls and they're not seating in properly straight away. But like I said, now that problem's completely disappeared. So yeah, in total I really like them, and I think they're 30mm deep, 1440 grams for the set, tubeless ready, although I wouldn't bother with that. And they're some of the stiffest wheels I've ever used. I'm going to keep using them until I get discs. Cheers.